For years, the artificial intelligence industry has focused on building a massive, powerful brain. But there is a physical limitation. That brain is trapped. To actually do anything, to operate external software, it relies on an API to act as a bridge. Without an application programming interface or a simple webhook to pass data back and forth, the most advanced language model in the world sits in isolation. It can process text, but it cannot press a button. This creates what engineers call the API wall. Because thousands of internal corporate dashboards and legacy enterprise systems were never built with these modern data hooks, they are entirely walled off from the AI revolution. This gap between high-level reasoning and low-level interaction has become the primary barrier to automation. We have the cognitive core, but we are still missing a reliable way for that intelligence to exit the text box and navigate the software on your desktop. Anthropic's solution to this interaction problem is an architecture called Conway. It relies heavily on a new standard called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. This protocol is a standardized translation layer. Developers build explicit integrations telling the AI how to access their apps. But there is a massive wager. For MCP to work, Anthropic needs the entire software industry to actively update their code for these agents. While the cutting-edge developer ecosystem is adopting these standards quickly, enterprise software is notoriously stubborn. The long tail of internal corporate tools often stays frozen for years at a time. Betting on an ecosystem of APIs means waiting for a world that might never fully cooperate. If a vendor doesn't update their software to support these agents, that tool remains inaccessible to the agent. OpenAI approached the bottleneck from the opposite direction. Instead of asking the software to change, they transformed Codex. It evolved from a command-line coding assistant into a persistent, general-purpose desktop application. This aligns with how OpenAI leadership views the next phase of development. Greg Brockman stated that models have moved from being the product to being part of the product, acting as the body that performs the work. To do that, Codex ignores APIs entirely. It looks at your screen, navigating by clicking the graphical user interface the same way a human would. When tested on visual, cross-app workflows, the performance gap is significant. Codex completes complex tasks in 2 minutes that cause Anthropic's Claude to hesitate and retry for 5 or 6 minutes. The immediate result is that legacy software suddenly becomes automatable without any new code. If a human can point and click on a button to run a dashboard, Codex can as well. By mimicking human interface behavior, OpenAI bypassed the developer bottleneck. The agent's operational reach is now bounded only by what is visible on your monitor. Executing this smoothly introduces a major technical hurdle. How do you give an AI flawless cursor control without it constantly hijacking the user's active mouse and interrupting their task? The answer traces back to a quiet acquisition. OpenAI bought a 12-person startup called Sky, bringing in a team of former Apple operating system engineers. These developers spent a decade building deep integration into macOS, handling complex accessibility permissions and programming natural motion paths. They applied that specific knowledge to Codex, allowing it to run multiple parallel agents in background windows while the user continues typing without interruption. OpenAI didn't simply train a smarter model to solve this problem. They acquired specific human engineering expertise to build an automation harness that rivals human efficiency on a desktop. To make that digital harness faster, OpenAI recently shipped an ambient memory feature called Chronicle. The software periodically captures your screen state, processes it through their servers, and writes local markdown context files to your machine. This provides the exact training signal the agent needs. It allows the model to study and inherit your specific workflows and daily muscle memory. Because this involves sending continuous screen captures to remote servers, OpenAI accepted a severe privacy trade-off, which is why the feature is currently unavailable in regions with strict data laws, like the EU and UK. Codex uses this ambient data to map your behavioral patterns, effectively learning your execution habits to replicate them in future sessions. We are watching a clear divergence in how the major labs build AI. Anthropic is trying to build a cooperative global ecosystem, while OpenAI is taking direct control of the existing interface. This matches the roadmap laid out by leadership. Sam Altman stated the agentic platform and computer work are the primary vectors for OpenAI's expansion. For enterprise operations, the practical impact is immediate. Teams no longer need to allocate budget for custom integration builds or wait for third-party vendors to grant them API access. By prioritizing direct graphical interface control, OpenAI sidestepped the requirement for structured integrations. This approach brings the long tail of legacy software and internal tools back into the scope of modern automation.